Good Monday morning, everybody. It's about 10:40 in the morning. I have been up since about 8:45 because me and Jerry had to go get lab work done. We had to go to our local Quest Diagnostics for some blood tests. I'm hoping to hear about the results within the next 4 weeks or so. They said it could take up to 4 weeks. Hopefully, it's sooner than that. Basically, our doctor requested that we go get some blood work done to see what our health is. My cholesterol level, her sugar levels, basically all the stuff that we should be doing. Well, I should have been doing since I turned 40, but no, I haven't been doing it as often as I should be. The gal who did it was really good. It didn't hurt that much. I know that. Ooh, yeah, I knew it was coming up just by the feel of it. But luckily, I don't bleed that much once I get blood drawn. Um, yeah, it's going to be a small black and blue. Problem I had with my veins is, and this gal actually said it to me today this time around, was my veins, even in the areas that you should be able to see them, are kind of small. And I was like, is that something to be worried about because of health issues? I don't know, but I'm glad we're getting these things done because of, well, according to my doctor, or according to our doctor, I should say, um, I should have been monitoring this when I turned 40. Oops. And Jerry should have been monitoring it since you turned 45, something like that. I can't remember. But being that we've both outlived a parent, or in her case, well, no, she has not outlived her father. Thank gosh. Thank God. I don't know, it's like that. Anyhow, I'm not fully awake, even though I've been up since, officially I've been up since 9, even though my alarm went off at 8:45. If you're wondering, I'm drinking my favorite coffee with pumpkin spice creamer, and it is very yummy. But, so we got our blood work done. Doctor said, depending on my cholesterol and whatnot, because of genetics and family history, she may have to put me on Lipitor, which I was on Lipitor once before, and it was working out quite nicely. So, if I have to go back on it, I have to go back on it. Hey, I got to do what I got to do. I am off work today, even though one of my coworkers wanted me to come in for her, but I said I couldn't, and there's two reasons why. Now, let me give you the two reasons why. The legitimate reason, I had to go get this blood work done. The illegitimate reason, even though I kind of think it's a legitimate reason, is this particular coworker, and I'm not trying to badmouth her or anything like that. I'm trying not to badmouth anybody. She has a reputation for basically calling out when she could be working, but she doesn't want to because she's got something personal going on. I don't know. That, in fact, I found out in recent weeks that she is trying to dictate what hours she works and who she works with. She's basically already begged and pleaded not to work nights because she doesn't like working with the new night people. Now she's got a problem with one of the day people and doesn't want to work with that particular person. So she basically didn't want to come in today. The other thing is, excuse me. she has this, according to everybody else, I haven't worked with her, so I don't know. But according to what everybody else is saying, she has this mother hen personality where she wants things done her way, especially if the boss, the owner of the store, is not there. Now, like I said, I've never worked with this person, so I don't know what her deal is. I just understand. I just know from all my experience that if you sign a contract to work with somebody or for a company, and that company decides that they want you to work certain hours or certain schedules or with certain people, it is not a good thing to basically turn around and dictate or demand who you're going to work with or when you're going to work. That's a no-no. I was taught at a very young age, if you're working for somebody and they're paying you to do the job that you need to be doing, you basically need to be jump to and do your schedule, do the hours they give you, unless you have a legitimate reason like medical appointments, bereavement leave, vacation time vacation time. Things of a legitimate reason. Not, oh, I've got a friend in town, so I'm just going to call out and say I'm sick. Or, oh, I just don't like working with this person, so I'm going to basically demand not to work with this person. I have had people in the past that I don't like working with. You know what I did? I shut my mouth, focused on my job, and came into work. That's all you have to do. You know, that and a factor of the understanding in this store is the person who opens in the morning time or the first person in during the evening time and is on block, which is basically where we cut our meats for the sandwiches, is the person in charge for the day. Unless the boss is in. And most of the time, when the boss is in, she's usually on block. No big deal. It's simple rules. Follow them. But this one particular person has issues. Who doesn't nowadays? But anyhow, getting off that little bandwagon. I'm going to leave my positive stuff, well, my Bible stuff towards the end. I've been having, now, I've said this yesterday, I'm going to say it again. Not because of the fact I repeat myself, which sometimes I do. I've been having better days. Things are getting back on track. There are still moments, luckily they're moments, they're not a whole day, they're just moments, where whatever it is, whether we didn't sleep properly or not enough sleep or just something happens. And that something causes us to lose focus or track or just our momentum. And we kind of fall back. The good thing is, me and Jerry are trying to push forward through the quagmire and the muck and the negativity and our emotions and just the woes of the world that collide on top of us. And there's a lot of them. And because of the fact a lot of these woes that occur that affect us, not only affect us indirectly, like the factor that Donald Trump now has COVID, or somebody else in the media has come down with COVID, whether it's a movie star or a sports person. In the past, I would have been like, "Oh, I'm sorry they got it. They must have done something wrong." But now that it's hit a little bit closer to home, and I don't mean here in my house, I mean family members who have come down with COVID, or close friends of Jerry Ann's that have COVID or have been tested positive. Now, I know from what I've read and what I've heard that sometimes there are false negatives or false positives. So we're hoping that well, my wife's brother-in-law and niece had COVID, and they did the whole self-quarantine, 14-day, whatever, how long that the doctor has told them to basically stay away from everybody or everything. And they came out they came out better. They got over it. It was, I don't want to say cured, because that means there's no evidence of the COVID, but they had the antibodies in their system still, which is good because it helps them fight the COVID. But we got a call Saturday or Sunday that one of her friends, her bestie down in Florida, Sharon, got it, even though she doesn't know how, because she wore the mask. She did she's a clean freak. Sharon is one of these paranoid people who will basically sanitize every surface she comes in contact, as well as her hands, wear a mask, the whole 9 yards. But she's also a teacher down in Florida. And the only thing she can think of, she got it from one of her students or something like that. Somebody who didn't know they had COVID and was carrying it. Whatever. I've heard of the same situation happening to people here in Missouri. There's a town that I'm not going to put the name out, but the town is maybe about 45-minute drive from here. The whole, and I can't remember if they said elementary or one of the schools, whether it was high school, elementary, middle school, the whole school was closed down because just about half the teachers and student body had somehow come down with COVID. It's one of those things that we're still learning about it. Scientists are still trying to figure it out. They understand what it is, what it looks like underneath a microscope or in a lab. But what they're having problems with, because they first assumed it was spread via your breath, breathing it in or out. If you don't have it, you can breathe it in. If you do have it, you could breathe it out, that kind of thing. So it's one of those things where they're still trying to figure out how it's transmitted, because now that a lot of people are doing what is suggested, wearing the mask and using sanitizer, they're trying to figure out how is it being spread from one person to another if both parties are wearing a mask or doing the whole shebang. Is it now airborne? Is it no longer just contained in the lungs and then spread through exhaling? We don't know. So it's one of those things that it's still a scientific mystery, even though they're creating antiviruses. They understand how it metabolizes and its lifespan and things like that. They're just still trying to figure out how it's transmitted. Now, does that mean somebody who has, like, spending the week with my in-laws in New York, just because everybody who had it is now healthy, are they still able to transmit it? We don't know. Scientists say no, but what do scientists truly know? Like many people used to say, you make a plan, God laughs. Because if your plan is not in his book, he may allow it just to see what happens. He may be like, no, that's not what I want for you. Don't know. The mysteries of that which we do not fully understand will never be understood. Now, you can call it the will of God, the will of the universe, the will of the gods, if you are not if you're not a Christian. We will never know the will of the higher power. I'm just going to call it that for now, the higher power, because it encompasses everything. Just like the factor of my cousin Michelle dying at a young age, my brother-in-law dying at a young age. Everybody says my father died at a young age, mid-40s. Yeah, I guess that can be considered young when the average healthy human lifespan, it could be well into their 90s or above. Look at my aunt. My aunt was 2 months away from being 100 years old when she passed away. And they all said that she could have probably lived well past 100 if she had not cracked her hip when she fell that one time. I don't know. None of us really know what our life expectancy is until it happens. And the best thing we can do to live a nice, long, healthy life is to literally watch our health. One of the many reasons why I am thankful that my house is now eating healthier. We just need to start getting into the physical fitness aspect. As for the spiritual aspect of living healthy, I'm not going to claim to be any formal religion. I have my grassroots or my upbringing in Christianity. I have a vast knowledge of various religions. I think anybody who lives a good life, a good spiritual life, and focuses on being good and trying to do good unto others, and love you too. A good, positive, wholesome, caring, giving, self-sacrificing lifestyle. I mean, the aspect, religion and spirituality, some people say they're two different things, but you can be religious without being spiritual, or you can be spiritual without being religious. I know there's a lot of people out there who basically would look at some of what I've done and what I've studied or what I believe or what I do, would consider me a sinner and damned to hell. Well, that's not up to you to choose. That's not even up to me to choose for you or myself. That decision is out of our hands. I think out of anything, if we're going to be judged, we should be judged not for our past, because there are plenty of people out there who have really, really, really bad past. I mean, I've heard stories of people who were sent to prison for not exactly heinous crimes, because, I mean, murder. That's an unforgivable, as I'm concerned. Murder is unforgivable. You basically made the choice to take another living being, a living person's life. That's, and they talk about the 7 deadly sins. Well, I don't know all of them. I just know that murder is unforgivable. Theft, depending on what you're stealing and why you're stealing. If you're stealing to survive because you need food, that can be forgiven because you can work that off. But if you're stealing just for the sake of stealing, nah, I'm sorry. If you just stole something just because you wanted to steal it, that's That's why. Just because? No. You're stealing food because you've got a house of people that you need to feed and you don't have enough money to buy everything. I'd rather let somebody who stole food go, and instead of them digging through the garbage and possibly getting sick off of whatever they pulled out of the garbage. And yes, I've seen people do that. When I worked at Casey's, it happened all the time. People would be rummaging through the garbage for leftover pizza or leftover donuts that we threw out because at the end of the day we have to throw away the old pizza, or after a certain number of days the donuts are no longer viable, they have to be thrown away. There was a case where somebody sued Casey's because they got sick off of the food they pulled out of the garbage, and they won the case. What? How's that happen? Anyhow, yeah, there are certain things that people do that can be forgiven, but murder is not one that I would. No. If you've been found guilty of such a crime, yeah, there's no. I can't. I would not be able to forgive you. I wouldn't. Um, and I'm not the one who makes a judgment call at the end. But like I was saying, I've heard stories about people who've been put in prison for not even a heinous crime. It was various different crimes that in most people's eyes were not heinous. But they knew they did wrong. They knew they had been living a bad life because of their past, something that happened in their past that they just couldn't shake off. And then they started going to the prison ministry and found Jesus. Their life, by the time they got out of it, by the time they were released from prison for whatever reasons, whether they did their time or good behavior or whatever it was, their life was like totally and utterly changed. The one story I read, which was kind of heartwarming, the guy was a gangbanger. And now, what I mean by that has nothing to do with the sexual garbage I've heard about. He was a member of a gang and did a lot of like they were violent crimes, but they weren't murder. It was more like aggravated assault, getting into fights, not breaking an entry, damaging property, just petty stuff, basically. He was in the vehicle when his crew did a drive-by shooting, and not only was one of the rival gang members caught in the crossfire, but or caught a round or two, but two other innocent bystanders who weren't even part of the rival group's crew was caught in the crossfire. He was arrested and incarcerated because he was basically he was part of the crew who did the shooting. Even though he never fired a weapon, he never handled a gun. He was the driver, basically. So he got incarcerated for the crime. He was convicted for being a part of the gang, part of the people in the vehicle. But he turned his life around in prison. Realized what he was doing was wrong. Realized that his life was going to pot, basically. When he got out of prison, he moved away from the area that he used to live in, got himself a job. Granted, because of his past and his crime, he couldn't get a job where he handled money, so he got a job at a lumber mill or something like that, north of where he used to live. and basically cut all ties from his past. Um, so it was like moved away from Missouri, cut ties, got himself a legitimate job, got involved in the church, you know, got involved with, I don't remember if it was what organization it was, but it was a Christian based organization where he was part of a group that did Habitat for Humanity, basically built low income housing for people who had low income. You know, so that story alone proves that your past might be your past, but you can turn away from your past and become better. Anyhow, try not to get emotional, which, if you all watched yesterday's video, is not a problem. It's not a sign of weakness. Anyhow, I want to end this video because it's getting to be almost half an hour and I gotta go start on my day. I want to end this with a Bible verse. It is Psalms 105. Sorry, I have to look at my notes. 105, yeah. 105 verse 4. And it says, I'm going to have to switch glasses so I can read the passage. I have to have one pair of glasses for seeing my camera and one pair for reading. It's the magnification difference. Anyhow, it says, look to the Lord and his strength. Seek his face always. Now, it's a very good verse for what I just spoke about. The difficulty for the world today is actively seeking God on a regular basis. Not everybody can do, and I know why. Because I'm kind of in the same boat. Because when you get involved with your daily activities, your daily routine, or you live in a place that has a lot of hustle and bustle, even here in Rolla, we have our hustle and bustle. We don't always take the time, and that's the words right there. Take the time. We don't always take the time to seek God. A lot of times, most people, including myself, when we have a stressful situation or there's a situation where we are in duress, we're having a bad day, most of us only seem to take time to yell at God because we're facing a situation we don't want to face, or something occurs that just does not feel right. For instance, when we have a death in the family that's a sudden death, like my brother-in-law Robert, we get mad. Either A, we, like Jerry did, she fell to her knees and why, God, why? It's the biggest question a lot of us ask. Why? Why does this have to happen? Why does this particular person have to pass? And then after the question why, it becomes a more aggressive, angry, disappointed, disbelief situation. Because then you start asking yourself, how can a loving, benevolent God allow these things to happen? Whether it's the COVID virus, whether it's a death in the family of a younger member of the family. I've never experienced it. I've never known anybody or heard of of how how a mother who just give birth to a stillborn. Um, and then there's the anger, the sorrow, the questioning. For me, how there's a lot of questioning. There's a lot of things that we do when we're having a bad situation to seek God for whatever reasons, whether we're angry with Him or whether we're depressed, we're sad, and feel like we've been abandoned. Ah, no handkerchief. Okay. Um. So there's the negative side of when we seek God. Now, a lot of us, because of our lifestyle or life situation or what's happening around us with life, that we actually seek God in a passionate, positive manner. Now, I know enough to basically say that He is there for us to come to Him when we're angry, when we're depressed, when we're happy, when we're joyful. He is there for both the negative and the positive. Footprints. The basis of the verse for footprints is when you look back on your life, there are times where you see two sets of footprints, and there are times where you see one set of footprints. And the times that you see the one set of footprints, is when He is carrying you to shoulder your burden. Ah, excuse me. It gets that verse will get me every time. But yeah. And if the not really a joke per se. I know Jerry joked about it, but I don't, because there's been more times than not that I could look back and definitely see long periods of time where there's only one set. Ah, but I will say that no matter what my situation has been, or no matter what I'm going through, or how often I've turned my back, so to speak, but I will say that even though there have been long periods of my life, I've turned my back on my grassroots religion and my my base beliefs, that I've always turned back. I've always turned back. And the thing is, every time I've turned back, I've never been pushed away. I've never been shunned. I've never been denied the ability or the chance to go back. Now, I know in my heart of hearts that every time I've turned away. He's always been there waiting for me to come back. That's the free will and the choice that God gives us, the ability to turn away and then come back. Unlike humans and human establishments, a lot of humans and a lot of establishments established by people, built by people on the guise of being Christians. This is one of the reasons why a established building or established group with their personal agendas or personal rules and regulations are not appealing to me. That's probably one of the reasons why I haven't gone to an actual church in years. Because of the fact that I can gain just as much, if not more, benefits from personal studies, personal relationships. It's one of the reasons why I don't slap a label on who I am or what I am, because it's exactly that, a label. And I think that is the problem with a lot of mainstream religion, especially in the Christian community, that we're too busy as Christians trying to run around slapping labels on each other. Christianity, I don't even want to call it Christianity anymore. I just want to call it the belief in God. Believing in God does not require a label, does not require a building, does not really fully acquire a group of people. Now, yeah, there is a lot of benefits of having a group of like-minded people doing studies and research and communications and, group sessions and whatnot. That's great. For instance, there are multiple versions of just mainstream Christianity, and I'm not talking about Presbyterian, Pentecostal, Catholic. No, the Christian groups want to run and go, oh, you're a church, you're what, Latter-day Saint? Okay. Church of Christ? Okay. Episcopalian? Okay. I mean, there's so many different names on churches. Church of Christ, Church of the Nazarene, the First Baptist, whatever. What does it matter? What does it matter what the label on the building is? You're a believer in God? You're a believer in Jesus? Okay, great. Problem is, and I learned this at a young age, especially in Arkansas, the Church of Christ has a set group of rules and regulations to become a formal member. It's not a fraternity. It's not like Knights of Columbus. It's not. Why are we putting labels on churches? It's a church. There is no such thing as labels when the first group of Christians came together in a building. It wasn't a building that looked like a farmhouse with a cross on top of it instead of a windmill or a wind. What are those things with roosters on? It was somebody's home, or it was sitting in the field on a hillside. It wasn't in a established building or an established location. Part of that was because of the fact that the Roman Empire would stamp you out. It's basically crucify you and burn you for not following the Roman rules and regulations and following this Jesus person. And I didn't mean it like, Jesus is just a person, but you know what I mean if you read the Bible and know the history. Then because of the Romans couldn't control the people, they said, you know what, we've got to do something to get this under control. So we have rule over people again. So that's when the Holy Roman Church basically or Catholicism started. My problem is with all the stuff that I read, and it's mostly from the Bible in this case. Jesus was the ultimate liberal. And what I mean by that was the fact that he accepted everyone. You can go and find Jesus sitting at an open air, let's say an open air restaurant of the time. And he would be sitting with a thief, a prostitute, and a tax collector. And do you realize during those times, the tax collector was more disliked than a thief and a prostitute? But the three of them were considered the lowest of low during their time. So it would be like Jesus sitting at a modern day restaurant with a hippie, an LGBN, or how, I don't know, I can't remember their initials, but you get the idea, and a white guy sitting with a black guy, basically, in the South during the 40s when the African American people weren't basically allowed to socialize with white people. It would be like Jesus sitting with a even modern day prostitute, biker, and gangbanger. Lowest of what we consider the lowest of the lows of today's time. You know, and literally sitting there and having conversations, and not unlike some people who try to forcibly say, hey, look, if you don't follow me, you're going to hell because you're not, following my, you don't believe in my Father type thing. That wasn't Jesus. Jesus wasn't trying to force change or force you to convert, forced conversion. He was saying, hey, look, this is what the kingdom of God offers. All you have to do is give praise, tithe to the church. I can't even say what he would want from us other than our compassion and things that we should be freely giving to each other in the first place. I fell out of the church, basically, not fell away from my belief in Jesus. I fell out of the church, the establishment, not the principle. Because there was a time when we came to our church, when Mom and I moved to Missouri, that we were hitting kind of hard times. And we had been told by the church that if you are a widow or an orphan or need some kind of assistance, we'll help you. Well, that's what we did. We went to them asking for assistance. I asked for assistance to pay for my college. Mom asked for some minor assistance to pay for a bill 1 month. They denied it. They said, no, we couldn't do it. A month later, they basically paid for an addition to the church. I kind of went, wait a minute, according to the Bible and according to what you have in your pamphlets, you follow the Bible, which basically in the Bible says that money collected by the church or collected by the community for the community or collected, to help out. Basically, the Bible talks about helping widows and orphans. I was an orphan. My father had passed away. My mom was a widow. And that's what basically caused me to become disenfranchised by my church. But does that mean I don't believe in God? No. I don't have to have a church to believe in God and read the Bible and study. I don't. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Any questions or comments about what I said? I'm freely waiting. I freely listen. Do I like some of them? Not, well, lately, yeah, most of them I do like, because I guess most of the people who would be naysayers or negative people have stopped making comments. So they just decided to put a thumbs down, which is fine. Thumbs down, thumbs up. That's your choice. Questions or comments, that's your choice. I'll accept them. I'm not judging. I'm not worried about negativity. Positivity is great, because it, either way, I'll be honest with you. A lot of people who haven't been saying anything but putting the thumbs down, you know what that does? It just encourages me to do more. Thumbs up, thumbs down, it don't matter to me. I will do what I feel I'm led to do, or want to do, guided to do, however you want to put it. If you're new to my channel and you decide to continue to watch and want to see more, you can click the little button, the subscribe button, or the bell, whatever it is, it pops up. I can't remember. But if you hit the bell, YouTube will let you know when I put in a new video. So until next time, God bless. Have a good day. Bye.